This issue is before me on the motion of the state to admit evidence pursuant to Rule 404B of the South Carolina Rules of Evidence, and also under the theory of res gestae. Of course, the defendant is on trial for murder of his wife and son. And over the course of the past several days, we have conducted an extensive in-camera hearing. The court has reviewed all of the exhibits submitted and I've considered the testimony of each and every witnesses, and I have concluded that the motion should be granted. Under the law of this state, evidence of other crimes is not admissible to prove the character of the person in order to show action in conformity therewith. An exception, however, exists when the evidence is offered to show motive, identity, the existence of a common scheme or plan, the absence of mistake or accident or intent. And before admitting this evidence, the court must first determine if it's relevant. Our rules define relevance as evidence having any tendency to make the existence of any fact that is of consequence to the determination of the case more probable or less probable than it would be without the evidence. After determining relevance, the court must determine if the evidence falls within an exception to Rule 404. In determining if an exception exists, the evidence must be logically relevant to the particular purpose or purposes for which it is sought to be introduced. And this requires the court to analyze whether a logical nexus exists. Evidence is logically relevant when it reasonably tends to prove a material fact and issue. And of course, the evidence of any other crime offered to be admitted into evidence or proven or testified to must be proven by clear and convincing evidence, and the court is to required to conduct an analysis under Rule 403, which weighs the probative value versus the prejudicial effect. According to the state, the nexus is supported by the unusual circumstances of the murders, in that the defendant was the last person to see his wife and son alive, and the one who discovered the bodies, all in a relatively short period of time. The state has presented evidence in this in-camera hearing, evidence of numerous financial crimes allegedly committed by Mr. Murdaugh. The state argues that the logical nexus between the murders and other crimes is that the looming exposure of financial crimes provided motive for the murders and is evidence of malice, an essential element of the crime of murder. On June 7th, the defendant was confronted about $792,000 missing from the law firm. Beyond that sum, the state contends that millions of dollars were misappropriated by the defendant, and this misappropriation would imminently be exposed.